We are.
It is Monday. We're back for Inflection Point Moments, the last one for March. Oh
I
my
know
gosh,
it's hard to believe.
this month has flown by.
It
Flown
has. And you know what? I don't know why. You look so much taller than me. There we go. I was like, why am I sitting so short compared to Rondo? It's like,
Oh,
I was
that's so
a kid that was just invited to the adult table or something.
funny.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you know,
Yeah. Oh, there's that. I'm like, that's much better now that
we're
I
not
think.
going to go down that road. But that is really funny. Um, clearly, you needed to move your camera up or your desk, your chair up. I don't know what it was, but anyway, yeah, I just apparently I'm too close to the camera. But if I move away, it feels like I'm like 20 miles away, so that didn't work either. At any rate, here we are. Today, we are talking about accurate focus for greater success. This is our last session about stages of business and staying focused on the stage of business where you are. Excuse me. As we were talking about before we came on live, we were looking at the people who have signed up for this session, and it was really interesting because it's about 50-50 of people who are business owners and people we know who are in business of various sundry, are working in businesses that they don't own. So we're going to focus on business, but there might be some things that we say today that we can expand out from just people in business to, whatever you're doing, you need to be focused in the right space in order to get the results you're looking for. Obviously, it's kind of like the whole MiFi thing versus being on your home Wi-Fi.
I
If
know.
you're not plugged into the right place, you're not going to get the results you're looking
Yeah.
for, right?
Before we went live, I realized I was very pixelated because I was connected to a MiFi device and not the network here, which obviously isn't as strong as the network where I'm at. So I'm not pixelated anymore
This
and
is a good thing,
fixed where I look like I'm an adult at the adult table now. I don't
right?
know why I didn't notice that before we went live, but yeah, here we are, last one for the month of March.
Absolutely. And one thing we'd like to ask people to do is if you're joining us, if you could type in the chat that you're with us. And if you have any comments or questions for us, we really enjoy that um, interacting with your comments and questions from the chat engages our conversation in a really more impactful way for everybody involved. So here we are. Also, I hope people are finding us because we're having some hiccups with LinkedIn, and we use a platform called Restream. And for some reason, Restream and LinkedIn are not talking to each other well. So hopefully you found us and you can be on the stream. So here we are. So, Jeff, accurate focus, an interesting thing. And when we talk about it from the standpoint of what stage of business you're in, when you're a startup, there are things you need to do. You got to build the foundation before you go to the next stage. You need to know who your customer is, or at least get pretty darn close to being clear on who your customer is and where you find them. And you need to know how you're going to serve them in the initial stages because would you say that grows over time?
It does. It
Yeah,
does. You think about grows and it evolves. Where you started might not be where you're at in the next stage or the next stage. As you start to scale, there might be different processes or tools or things that need to be put in place in order to
yeah,
enable you to deliver whatever it is that you're
absolutely.
providing with that scale.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And part of the reason why that happens is because as you work further into your business, you get more clarity around how your customer wants to be served. because we have an idea when we start, but usually how we start is, well, it's idealized. Let's just phrase it that way.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's very idealized, and this is how I really want to do it. This is how I think they want to be served. And then you start serving people and you go, oh, well, that's not quite exactly the way they're asking me to serve them. And I need to evolve. I need to evolve how I'm doing it to serve them more effectively and maybe even find some additional ways that my services can benefit my customers. And that's certainly how we work as business owners. It's also how we work if we're in a business that we're not the owner, but we're somebody who is contributing to what the company's doing.
Yeah.
In regardless of your role in any organization, those kinds of learnings are going to happen, but you still got to have a foundation. So you build your foundation, and then once you build your foundation and you have that viable product, you look for a bigger market to roll it out to, which means you have to have more people because you can't do it all yourself. And once you have that, that's when having that accurate focus is so much more critical, because you have to communicate to another person that's working with you how we're going to do this and who we're serving and how we work together to serve that audience. Because that could get a little chaotic if you're not pulling in the same direction. Okay, that could get a lot chaotic.
A whole lot of chaos tends
Yeah.
to ensue when that happens.
Yes, absolutely. And that's when having a Jeff is really important, and starting to get some processes and systems in place, and starting to get the support systems, whether it's people or processes, so that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's part of the growth process.
Is a big component, at least from my view of that component.
And from my personal view, that's been critical for me to be able to grow, because if I don't have somebody who is supporting me on the back end, because I'm not an administrative person. I mean, I can do some admin, but invariably the admin will trip me up, and then I'm not focused on the work I need to do to move the business forward. Speaking of accurate focus for greater success, where do you, and this girl has to have blinders on all the time, because all these things that are out here, yeah, they take my attention away, and then I'm really out of. You think I had ADHD or something? I don't know.
Yeah, kind of all over the board.
Oh Lord, yeah. So know who you have to have around you to help you maintain that accurate focus. And what the tricks of the trade are for you to be able to have an accurate focus. Whether that means having every morning you sit down, you do, I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't have to do this, to look at what is it I'm supposed to accomplish today so that I can get everything done I need to do this week. It took a long time for me to get there. Yep. Hey, I'll just do the next thing that comes along. No, that does not work well.
Yeah, it's about really that laser focus and being intentional on where you're spending your time.
Absolutely.
That greater success. Yeah. And look, we all do it. There's tasks that show up that maybe are a little sexier than the thing that needs to get done today.
I don't know anything about that.
Right? So you tend to jump in and do kind of those, maybe because they're more aligned with your skill set. It's something you enjoy a little bit more, and the things that really have to get done that you don't enjoy are the end of the day, or we'll kick the can one more day.
Yeah, that is painful. When you do that, it is just painful. So that's really important to know that, and to know for yourself on that accurate focus, and whether you need to spend your first thing in the morning doing that thing that annoys you so you can get it out of the way, or whether you need to do something that really motivates you first to get the juices going, and then you can do the thing that annoys you. We're all different from that standpoint. You got to know what that is.
And sometimes I find time boxing those things, like from 9 to 9:30 I'm going to do this, which means I've got to be super focused to get this thing done that I really don't want to do, but I need to get done.
Right.
And then that can be checked off the list. And then I can move on to maybe something I enjoy a little bit more. Or to your point, maybe I do that first, time box that for 30 minutes, and then I give myself an hour for the thing that I've got to do that isn't one of my favorite things, but I know it needs to get done today, and not kicked until the 11th hour. And then, running
Which
around.
makes it more painful.
Yeah, hair on fire, right? It's
Yeah,
a big fire drill then to get things together.
Exactly. And so knowing that and understanding where you need to focus your time, and we're talking very task oriented in this particular situation, but there's also the bigger picture of knowing where you need to focus your time for the things you need to get done in this stage of your business. So if you're in the growth stage of your business, you need to nurture your customer base. You need to fine tune your ideal customer. You need to start creating and honing those systems. Yes. And really get clear on your brand identity. Because the more clear you are on your brand identity, the more you can take what you're doing to the right customers and be talking to the people who really need your services and who will understand, because you can, in your brand identity, use words that will resonate with the right customers.
Yeah.
That's really important. And building a team that understands that with you and maybe can even help you hone it. Oh my gosh, what? Have people who you could actually have contribute to that? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Becoming the expert in your domain. That's another part of the growth stage of your business. So if you're in the growth stage, focusing on those things, as opposed to, somebody said that I should I've heard this expression, I do a fishbone chart for how all my processes work and get it really honed down from that standpoint. That's a little more in the scale space than in the growth space as far as the stages of business. Would you say?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Personally, I will never do a fishbone chart because that is not my space. But that's why I have Jeff, because he can get to that level of detail. That was actually a quality assurance person that used the expression fishbone chart, for the record.
I was going to ask, where'd you pick that up from? Quality assurance makes sense.
Yep, exactly. That was a long time ago when I worked with somebody who used the expression of fishbone chart.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff I think is important, is knowing where you're at and what do you need to be focused on at this point in time. We've talked about the shiny diamond syndrome, and there's a lot of that comes in as a business owner, whether it's looking at competitors, looking at what else is going on in your market, looking at, we think we have an opportunity here, and here. How do you get really focused and intentional on where you're going to spend your time? And, if you're a gambling person, where are you going to double down? Or you need to just walk away, right? And sometimes
that's very true. What you just said, where are you going to walk away, is a critical expression, and you have to know where those places are. There are lots of quotes out there that talk about how many no's you have to say in order to be able to say yes to the right things. And what you said about doubling down, about focus, is the same concept. If you're going to double down here, you can't spend your time over here. You have to stay in that lane where you're doubling down, because this is where you're going to focus your energy so that you can, energy, using your energizers. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say energizers.
Sorry. sidebar. That when you are spending your energy in the right places for this stage of your business, then you get that return on investment that will help you get to the next stage where you can focus on the things you have to say no to today because you're not there yet.
Yeah.
And if you try, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I always tell people when you have those items that come up, just write them down. Keep a list of them. So it doesn't mean that you're going to lose it. It just means not now.
Yes.
It might still be a good idea. And the other thing that I think sometimes that helps with writing down is if that thing continues to come up over and over and over again, thematically, there might be some action that needs to be taken there. Or was it just chasing a squirrel because it seemed like the best thing? But once you write it down, maybe revisit in a quarter if you haven't thought about it since, and it doesn't seem like the market's there for whatever reason, or maybe you've learned more over the quarter. You can always eliminate those things off the list. But I always tell people, write them down. It doesn't mean that it's a bad idea if you're trying to be focused. Still let those things come to you, because sometimes that could be the next best thing. But write them down and be very focused on what you choose to pursue and when.
Yes, absolutely. And my suggestion on the writing them down is to create a document with a title, and you got to decide where you're going to put your document. Is it going to be a note in your phone? Is it going to be in Dropbox? Is it going to be in Google Drive? Is it going to be on your computer? Is it going to be like you have literally a notebook and you're writing these things in a notebook? But personally, I would call that the parking lot. The problem with Post-it notes, not that I don't love Post-it notes. I mean, I have stock in 3M, but
I should, with how many Post-it notes I go through.
Yeah. But the problem with Post-it notes is they can get lost.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Yes, they work.
Or they fall off the monitor and all over the desk.
And then there's that part too.
Not
where,
that I
what I'm sorry, Jeff, what'd you say?
Not that I would know. Speaking for a friend.
Yeah, I believe that. But wherever you're going to put them, Post-it note or document of whatever kind, title your document something that you know and consistently put those things there. So that, because like when you're doing your 90-day planning, maybe you need to go back to that and look at, okay, what were the things that came to me or that somebody talked to me about? And is it time yet? It may be yes, it may be no. But those will be idea starters for your 90-day planning process. So, and since it is the end of the first quarter, it's kind of a timely.
It is super timely. Hard to believe the end of Q1 is upon us.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is. So here we are. And we are staying with accurate focus because at the end of Q1, we need to focus on what we're going to do for Q2. Well, what do we need to do to stay in our stage and to keep moving forward on what it is that we're doing?
Yeah.
Where are we going? Where are we going? What do we need to do to get to the next thing, the next mile marker, so to speak, to keep our business moving forward? Keep our business moving forward. Easy for me to say. I know personally, I have gotten so far ahead of myself more than once on things that I was not ready for. And instead of propelling you forward, it can throw you backwards. And then you're really in a world of hurt because you spent money that you didn't need to spend on something that was really ahead of where you are right now.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do. I think everyone's done it. And if people say that they've never done it, they're probably lying, or they haven't been in business very long. Let's be frank.
Or they don't know they're lying. They just have not been realistic with why things have turned out like they have.
Yep.
In whatever that situation was.
Yeah.
But the reality is we all see that. We all do it. We all see it. Hopefully we learn the lesson quickly and do not repeat that on a regular basis.
Yeah, because that's getting hit by the same sucker punch is never fun.
No.
Especially when you should see it coming because you've already got hit by it once.
Oh, I did this once before. It did not turn out well, but it will be different this time. No,
Yeah.
actually, it won't.
Yeah, definition of insanity right
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And that's one of the reasons why it's really helpful to have a coach, a
Yes.
consultant, somebody who comes alongside you, or a community where when these kinds of things come up and you're thinking about, hey, I heard about this, or somebody approached me with this idea. What do you think about it? Is this a good option? Have you had any experience with this? Because your friend, your business friend, let's get this clear. Your business friend, your coach, your consultant, your business community could say, yeah, not yet. Or let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah. Or yes, but.
Yeah, exactly. Here's some things to consider. That's the value of having that. I actually know someone who had an opportunity come up that could conceivably be a very good opportunity. And when they were telling me about it, I was intrigued, and they were very excited, legitimately so.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued, but there were some red flags that I was hearing. And I had to say, have you talked to this person? Have you talked to this person? What's the implication going to be for this? How are you going to address this? And the person went ahead and did what it was that they were exploring, but they went in with their eyes open because they had followed up and checked on talking to the lawyer, talking to the accountant, making sure that some of the potential issues were discussed and on the table with the person they were working with so they knew the answers as opposed to making assumptions.
Yeah.
That will bite you.
Yes, it will.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Absolutely.
an old saying.
Yes, there is an old saying about assumptions. Is there not? Very true. So that's really important as far as making sure that your focus is where it needs to be and making the decision and sticking to it for a period of time. Maybe you try and it doesn't work in the way that you expected it to, and so you need to shift gears a little bit, but you got to give it some time before, trying something for 2 weeks is not long enough.
Yeah.
You need to get that focus, identify where it is, and get that focus and stay there for, I would say, 6 weeks to 3 months at least, don't you think? Maybe depending on what it is, it might take longer. What's the runway for this part of what you're needing to do?
And I think that runway also comes into what's your risk tolerance as a business owner on how long are you willing to have for a run. So it could be that you could have 6 months realistically for a runway, but maybe you're really only comfortable with the capital outlay, the additional stress for 3 months.
Right.
And being really honest with yourself on what that is. Don't say it's 6 months just because it's 6 months. If in reality, after 3 months, if you're not getting results, or is there a smaller milestone that needs to be hit within 30, 60, 90 days? If your runway is 180 days, what are the milestones to know, do you need to make shifts or kill it earlier versus waiting until that 6 month mark?
Absolutely. That's a really good point, and very much the systems and processes mindset. Excuse me. This is where somebody like a Jeff, as a fractional COO, adds incredible value. Okay, in the process of moving from start to this is full go, what do we need to be looking for? What's a realistic time frame for A, and then B, and then C along the way? Thinking through that process can really help you in the investment of your time and your energy for, not to mention your money, for this new focus in your business, service or product that you're offering in your business, all those things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that also means getting your head on straight, working with someone like a coach like you around how do you get the right things in place to allow you to be in the space to have that kind of focus.
That's
You know,
really true.
we've talked about owners that are, up to their eyeballs with just stuff, right? And that they can't really see the bigger picture in the business because they're so consumed in the day to day, and their minds
Right.
may or may not be in the right place. I would argue oftentimes it's probably not in the right place if you're always on this hamster wheel. And that's where, some coaching, outside in coaching, can give you some really valuable insights and ahas on what do you need to do to change that, to be able
Right.
to get in the headspace where you can be focused.
That's so very true, because all these other things that are out here that you're not even aware are out here, they're getting in the way of you being able to focus. And coaching can definitely help you identify what those things are so that you can then stay focused, clear that stuff out of the way, get it off your desk, get it out of your view. When I was talking about that, I have to be like this, there's plenty of view out there to the sides. But if I don't stay in that laser focus, I will not be able to get done what I need to do. So having a coach help you identify where the glitches are. And this does not mean you're a bad person. It just means you need to clear the decks.
Yeah.
And be able to get in that space of focusing on the things you identify for now. And those other things are things for later. As you said, put them on the list. They don't go away. You're not going to have to worry about that you forgot them. You've not forgotten them. They're on the list.
Yep.
But they don't have to be flying around in your head and constantly coming back. Oh, what about that? Oh, what about that? And it can happen real easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really can. So when you know what you're supposed to be accomplishing in this time frame, in this stage of your business, in this 90 days, whatever framework you're using, it's much easier to get those things accomplished. It's much easier to, even if there are parts of it that you don't particularly appreciate doing. I understand that concept.
Yeah.
And all of us have different things that are the things we don't appreciate doing. But for all of us, we can move past those things and into the things that reward us when we, number one, know what the things that we feel rewarded for doing are. We have awareness of that. Number two, we know that doing the things we don't appreciate very much, we don't have to do it forever. We do it for 30 minutes and then we move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very, very, very true.
Yeah.
I think that's where this topic is always a timely one, especially right now being the end of Q1. If you did get unfocused during first quarter, now's the time to reset that going into the Q2 that starts on Saturday.
Woohoo! April 1st.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that April 1st is not on a Monday. I'm just saying.
Yes, this year, that for sure. Starting on the 3rd, April 3rd starts Q2.
Yes. There you go. We'll look at it that way because we're not counting the weekend. But I'm just thinking if it was April 1st on the day that we were on our weekly live stream, I know there would be something funny.
No.
I would be surprised. And it would be an interesting experience.
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna lie.
There's a good chance of that. Nonetheless, when we come back on April 3rd, we won't be talking about stages of business anymore. Next month, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence. Equally important topic, very different part of where the focus is as a business owner, but that's one of the exciting things about being a business owner is there's so many different components and facets to the process. So emotional intelligence seems to be a really hot topic. That kind of ebbs and flows as far as topics are concerned. But right now, it's a really hot topic. I've seen several speakers in groups that I'm part of where emotional intelligence is one of the topics that's being talked about. So we're going to talk about that in the month of April. So join us next Monday for our next inflection point moment.
Yes, we'll see you at 12:15 Eastern time.
Absolutely. Thanks for being with us.
See ya.